Hey there, my name is Chris and I am a former chef and a Beachbody coach, and I have lost a bunch of weight, and it is my mission now to show people how to be healthy through food and exercise. So as a part of To Be Mindset, which I absolutely love, it takes all the stress out of eating and having to count calories and all of that. We focus on a couple of principles. One is water first. Before each meal, we want to drink 16 ounces of water, and veggies most. That means that 50% of our meals should be vegetables. So what is the other part? Well, carbohydrates and proteins. Today I'm going to show you how to make some bread. And I know in past diets, you may have not had carbs, but carbs are not bad for you. Carbs are something that your body needs as fuel, especially if you're working out or walking or getting a lot of activity. So when we make our own, we can control what we put in it. And the idea is that we want to put the best ingredients in there to help our body flush everything quickly. So we're going to make a very simple Italian straight dough. Straight dough means that we mix the yeast, the water, the flour, a little bit of olive oil and salt. All together, we let it rise, we fold it, we let it rise again, we shape it, and we bake it. As opposed to a long fermented dough, which is an overnight dough, which you make a day ahead and park in the refrigerator and take it out. I will show you what that looks like because I am in bread baking mode. I used to be a professional bread baker and pastry chef. So that is one that I made that was an overnight dough, and it is now rising so that it can be baked in a little bit. Okay, so we're gonna get started, and you're gonna see how absolutely easy this is. There's no reason that you can't make your own. So to here I have 1 3/4 cup of warm water. Not hot, just warm. So we're gonna put that in. Then we're gonna add to that 1 packet of yeast. And you're just gonna get your instant yeast to make your life easy so that it makes this super simple. One thing you need to think about is you don't want your yeast and your salt to touch right away because it will inactivate your yeast. So very simply, just put your salt on top of your flour. We're gonna add to that 4 to 4.5 cups of flour. So you might say, well, wait a minute, is it 4 or 4.5 cups? Well, that depends on the hydration of your flour. So I'm gonna show you how to tell. We're gonna start with 4 and we're gonna mix it, and if we need more, we'll add more. The easiest way to do it. So I've got my 4 cups in there. Now I'm gonna add a tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil, the best you can find, because that adds flavor. And you could add fresh herbs, you could add cheeses, whatever it is that you like. I'm gonna keep it simple right now. And then we're gonna add, let's see here, I put my glasses on because I'm blind. And we're gonna add 2 teaspoons of salt. Now listen, if you like saltier bread, you need to keep everything in balance. You can go up to a tablespoon and still be in balance. So make the recipe as you see it, and then you can adjust it from there. I like saltier breads. I feel that that really adds an extra flavor. So to this, I'm going to add, where it says 2 teaspoons, I'm going to add a whole tablespoon of salt, and that won't affect it much depending on the hydration level. You usually want to have your yeast and your salt in balance. That means the same quantities. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and mix that, and then like I said, if we need extra flour, we will put that in there. So let me tilt this down a little bit more so you can see. And I just go around my hand, and you can see I'm just moving it around. This will be plenty of flour, I can already tell. How can I tell? Well, because my dough is not overly wet. If my dough is really wet, then I know I need to add more. But if it gets all craggly as I'm turning it around, then I know I'm in good shape. And that is the timer for my other bread that's in the oven. Because of course, did I time that right? No, but you get to see what it looks like. So once you get to this stage, where it looks all like a craggly ball, you let it rest for a few seconds, and then we're gonna go back through and knead it again, and then we're gonna cover it and let it rise for about an hour, hour and a half. Then we'll fold it, and we'll repeat the process. So let me show you what the bread looks like when it comes out of the oven. This is the overnight dough. I'm gonna take all this little extra dough off my fingers, and I'll show you what that looks like. Maybe, if I can get it out of the oven. I have this little tiny oven here, so this is what our bread looks like. This is just a rustic sesame loaf, but you can kind of get an idea. Maybe I'll hold it down here better. of what that looks like. Okay, so I'm gonna put that over here to cool on my rack, and then I'm going to let this rest for a few seconds, and I'll come back and I'll show you what to do next. Alrighty then, the dough has rested a little bit, so we're gonna go ahead and just start kneading it a bit. Now, you can knead it on the counter, or you can keep kneading it in the bowl. So we're gonna push forward, pull it back, fold it. Push forward, pull it back, fold it. Turn it, push back, fold it, fold it, fold it, turn and fold, turn and push and fold, turn and push and fold, until you have what looks like a nice, smooth dough. Okay? That's simple. That rest makes it immensely easier to do that with. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna separate this into 2 pieces. So I'm just gonna gently pull one apart. We're gonna set this aside. Just gonna stick it over side. And to this one that's left, I'm going to add some chopped rosemary, well, chopped or pulled apart rosemary. Because again, these are just rustic loaves. These are just very simple loaves that we're making. Good, and to that I'm gonna add some ground pepper. Let me find my pepper grinder. Where is my pepper grinder? And of course, you know, when you need it, you can't find it. Okay, on the pepper grinder, I'm gonna go ahead and give it some really aggressive amounts of pepper. Because we're gonna be kneading this into the whole loaf of dough, so you need enough. Then, I've got some really good Parmesan cheese here, and I'm going to go ahead and grate it and then add that to the dough. So, turn this over a bit. Always good to keep your area clean. Let's say you don't like rosemary. Let's say that you only like basil, so then you add basil. Let's say that you like oregano, you can add oregano. You add what you like to your dough. Maybe it's chopped olives. Maybe it is a different type of cheese. Whatever it is you like, you can add to your dough, and it just enhances the flavor. So play around with this. This is a very neutral dough, so you've got lots of choices. I'm gonna add that cheese right in there. Now comes the fun part. So smush it into the dough, smush it in, and then we're gonna knead it again. So push and fold, picking up all those little bits and pieces, push, fold, push, fold, push and fold, and push and fold, a bunch of times until it's all integrated into your dough, like that. And you have a nice smooth top again, and then we're good. Now, we're gonna cover these balls of dough. I'm gonna get my other one. Cover those balls of dough, and you'll see they get nice and soft after a few minutes. And then we're gonna let them rise, fold them again after about an hour, hour and a half, and then we'll let it rise again, and then we'll shape them, and then we'll bake them. So I'll keep stopping and starting so you can see the whole process. All right, I'm back once again. Our dough has risen for the second time. See, it's much bigger than it was when I last left you. So I'm gonna go ahead and take that dough out very gently here onto my clean counter. And this is the plain dough. And what I wanna do with this dough is I'm gonna divide it into 3 pieces. See that? There we go. I just dumped it out of the bowl. I'm gonna divide it in 3 pieces. This is a dough scraper. So we're just gonna come in here and divide it roughly into 3 pieces there. And you could simply just use your dough the way it is, and that's fine too, to form your loaf. But I am gonna do a quick braid. So we're gonna connect all 3 pieces here. And obviously you are gonna be doing this opposite for me, but that's okay. So we're gonna start with the right, and we're gonna go over the middle, left over the middle, right over the middle, left over the middle, right over the middle, left over the middle. Notice my pieces are not perfect. Left, right, left over middle, right over middle. There we go. There's our very rustic braid. We're not looking for perfection. We're just trying to make it a little extra nice there. Put that here. And then, while that dough is still sticky, I'm gonna wet my hands down a little bit. And I'm just just gonna tap my dough, making the top of the dough all wet. Okay? Now we have some choices. I have over here some toasted sesame seeds. So I think what I'm gonna do is make a half and half loaf. So on this side, I'm gonna do some toasted sesame seeds. And when this bakes, they'll separate. And on the other side, I'm gonna do some bagel seasoning, because if you watch me at all, you know I love this stuff. And it smells amazing while it bakes. All right, so bagel seasoning, good to go. All right, so now we have our rosemary loaf form. We're gonna place this on the side and decide what shape we want our rosemary loaf to be. Forward here. So I think for this rosemary loaf, I would like a traditional shape. So I'm gonna hold to the side. I'm gonna lay it flat like this. Right? We're gonna take the outer edge and bring it to the center. We're gonna push it down. Then we're gonna take this side, again, the outer edge, and meet the seam. Meet the seam. And you might encounter some bubbles, just fine. You're gonna roll it to the side, and then you should have a nicely shaped baguette style loaf. I'm gonna tap it a little bit to get some of those extra bubbles out so that it doesn't explode when we put it in the oven. I'm going to score it before I put it in the oven. Score just simply means cut it in various places so that it doesn't explode. So here we have our 2 loaves. I'm going to cover them with some plastic wrap and once again, let them rise. This time we're just gonna let them rise until they're nice and puffy, and then we'll go ahead and score them and bake them. Okay, I'll be back. All right, so our dough has risen, and I'm going to score it and put it into the oven. So let me show you what I have in mind for scoring. And of course, it's not in front of me, so give me 1 second. So for this loaf, we're just gonna do a simple straight cut, straight down the center. And the reason for this is so that the dough doesn't explode and make our bread in weird shapes. Now, because this one is braided, we actually don't have to do that. It will expand naturally because it has natural breaks. So we're gonna go ahead and put these in the oven, and you wanna make sure that your score is deep enough that it will prevent it from exploding in any particular place. So just go back and fix that anytime you need it. You basically wanna keep your knife on the sideways angle so that you get nice open. All right, they're going into a 450 degree oven for 20 minutes, and then I'm gonna reduce it down to 400 degrees for 20 minutes, for a total of 40 minutes, because you want, or an internal temperature of 200 degrees. You wanna make sure you have your bread fully baked. Okie dokie, here we go. I'll show you what it looks like it's done. Okay, finally, our breads are done. 40 minutes, you can hear it's got a nice tap tap, nice and hollow. The internal temperature is 200 degrees, so we know that it's done all the way through. And they're lovely, they smell delicious. And I know it probably seemed like it took a long time, but a lot of that is just wait time. So if you're patient, it's totally worth the wait. And your body will be able to digest it easily. So it's a great task. I hope that you enjoy it. In between doing all this, I did my laundry, I did my hair, I got the kitchen cleaned up. So, you know, it's just kind of a in between, but you do have to keep track of the time that you're letting it rise because you don't want it to be overblown. It will get all over your counter. Believe me, it's happened. So I'm here to warn you. So this is just a simple bread dough. And as we go through, I'll start showing you a little more complicated ones too if you're interested. So I hope that you subscribe to my channel. I hope that you like everything that you see. I hope that you're eating your veggies most, drinking your water, getting your protein in, and having those carbs in the morning and afternoon, giving them up in the evening, unless you're super active, because you don't need that for energy in the evening. Wish you much love. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.